This is the third year that we've recognized a former NFL contract advisor with what we call the Eugene E. Parker Lifetime Achievement Award. As everybody knows, Eugene was one of the first giants in the business. He was an agent for over 3 years, and he represented and worked with some of the greatest names in football, including the likes of Deion Sanders, Emmitt Smith, hard to believe, but Larry Fitzgerald, who's still playing, and many more. And tonight, I'm going to go off script for a second because the recipient of this award embodies a lot of things that we're going to talk about later that agents should embody. And I don't want to take too much away from Brandon, Eugene's son, but Mike Sullivan, everybody knows him because he was an agent for so many years, but he really loved being an agent. And that's what everyone on this Zoom or whatever you want to call it should be. He loved every aspect about it. He loved talking about being an agent. He loved being an agent, loved the players. He loved to see the successes of his clients. And even though he went over to the dark side, for the last decade, I think he was always an agent at heart. And so without further ado, Brandon Parker, who's Eugene's son, in his own right, a very successful agent with VaynerSports, will present this year's Eugene E. Parker Lifetime Achievement Award to Mike Sullivan. So Brandon, it's all yours.
Thank you, Peter. Appreciate you, man. Okay, the third annual winner of the Eugene Parker Award not only distinguished himself during his 25 years in player representation, but also as one of a growing vanguard of agents who cross over to the team side to work in the salary cap administration. A former high school All-American at quarterback, he originally went to Oregon on scholarship. After earning his law degree at Villanova, he began his progression into sports law, getting certified by the NFLPA in 1985. He rose steadily through the business until joining Octagon in 2000. As a head of Octagon's football division, he not only became an expert in the collective bargaining agreement, but he also worked with last year's winner, Ray Anderson. Twice, he negotiated the contract of the top pick of the NFL draft, Michael Vick in 2001 and David Carr in 2002. In Vick's contract, Mike created the structure of using the guaranteed base salaries to secure a second bonus, which led to significant increases in guaranteed rookie compensation. Later in 2012, he was named Director of Football Administration for the Broncos and served with Denver for 8 years. We are honored to present Mike Sullivan with this year's Eugene E. Parker Lifetime Achievement Award.
Thank you, Brandon. I want to do a quick aside for Peter Schaffer to show kind of how things change over the years. Peter and I have been agents for almost the same number of years, and we had some really pitched battles in the 90s and the 2000s. And when I came to Denver to negotiate contracts for the Broncos, Peter lives here, and he was the first person to reach out to me and welcome me to Denver and let me know that if there's anything he could do to help me with the transition, he would be happy to do it. So thanks for all the kind words as well, Peter, but you've always been a great friend, at least since I came to Denver. I appreciate this award, although I'm sure a lot of it is just based on my surviving the agent world for so many years. I also want to congratulate Neil Stratton for all of his work over the years, especially in helping agents, the young ones in particular. I was fortunate enough to interact with Eugene Parker many times, both as an agent and while doing contracts for the Broncos. He was always quiet, reserved, and dignified. He was clearly very close with his client, and he cared about himself, which I can't say about every agent. Any agent that follows the lead that Eugene set will be an asset to the profession. Having spent the last 8 years doing contracts on the team side, I have been able to deal with many agents. As Peter said in the intro, I spent over 25 years on the agent side before that. During these last 8 years, I have seen lots of different styles from the agents that I've dealt with. I thought I would spend just a couple of minutes giving you some feedback on what appealed to me as a team negotiator, and also tie in some of my own beliefs from my time as an agent. Understand there are many successful agents out there, and some may have different thoughts than some of mine. First, as a team negotiator, I wanted honesty from agents. When I represented players, I valued my credibility over everything else. Your word should mean something. Don't make promises you're not prepared to keep. Just be honest. Personal integrity matters. If you're going to engage in negotiating in the media, which is something that happens a lot, be careful. I'm not saying it's always a bad idea. Just be aware that leaked stories that are not factually accurate and that also paint the general manager in a bad or negative light will often have long-term negative consequences for you and your client. This was the one thing that really would cause me to minimize my interactions with a particular agent. Sometimes the media is your only avenue to deal with a club that is simply taking an unreasonable position. But be accurate and honestly present your position and or why the team's position is unreasonable, whether it is leaked or on the record. For the younger and less experienced agents out there, one of the hardest things for me to accept when I was an agent was how I was perceived by teams. I can tell you now from firsthand experience on the team side that agents are generally not appreciated by club general managers. In my opinion, all agents are prejudged negatively until they have proven themselves honorable in a situation. Teams are not fans of the free market system, and they get mad at agents for deals that they feel are just too rich. It's not fair, and it ignores the fact that the vast majority of agents are just doing their job and doing it well. I assumed that once I proved myself trustworthy to a few teams, word would get around the league and I would not be prejudged negatively. I learned that was not the case. In my experience, you carry that negative presumption to every new team until you prove to them that you are okay. So whenever you are dealing with a team for the first time, remember it really is a new first impression. Finally, I'll leave you with the 3 guiding principles I have tried to use both in negotiating contracts and communication in everyday life situations. First, listen effectively. Second, ask questions. Third, control your emotions. Succeed in all walks of life. Thanks again for this award and the opportunity to speak to you.